All right, I want to welcome on my next guest. We've got Jillian Sakovits, Atlanta United host and reporter. Jillian, how's everything going? Soccer's coming back.
Yes, soccer is back. Everyone's really excited that this will be the first sport that really makes its return in both women's and men's.
Absolutely. And then so how did they get the ball rolling before everybody else? Because it seems like they're the only ones that really have their stuff together right now.
Well, I think that one of the reasons why they were so quick to move is the fact that the season got interrupted just 2 weeks in. So it really felt like they never got to start. So the time is so valuable. But then also I think with a younger league, there's a sense of urgency that obviously we're not seeing with leagues like Major League Baseball.
No. And do you think with all the stuff going on with baseball, with all the lack of maybe like there's really not much hope right now that the season's going to get going soon. Do you think soccer could be there to kind of just steal their shine a little bit and just be like, hey, we're here. We got our stuff together. You guys can figure out what you're doing, but we're not going to worry about you.
Yeah, and I feel for baseball because I used to work for MLB, and I know that there's just a very big gap right now between where the owners and the commissioner and the players are at, and it's challenging for any league. So I know that the baseball players and the baseball teams, they want to get back and playing too. But yeah, MLS seemed to have it figured out. And something we talked today about on the Call Up, which is my podcast, is the fact that it's been all over Twitter that people are like, okay, well, I'll have to look up who my MLS team is. So I think it is a really good opportunity for people to start watching soccer that maybe don't, because the truth of the matter is it's going to be the only thing on for about 3 weeks before the NBA makes its return.
Do you think, I saw Kevin Durant invested in the Philadelphia Union. Did you think he realized how big of an audience they're going to get from the get-go? And he said, okay, I want to be a part of this.
No, because there's no way. He's been obviously talking to the Philadelphia Union for months, so he couldn't have predicted the pandemic. But from what I've heard in my own talks with people at the Philadelphia Union is that he's been really, really involved, that he was part of very long conversations. JP Delacamera, who is a Hall of Fame play-by-play announcer, works for Fox, but also does the play-by-play for the Philadelphia Union. He talked about that today at MLS, just that Kevin Durant seems like he really, really just doesn't want to be a minority owner. He wants to be involved with the 5% stake that he bought.
That's awesome. And then so for guys right now, what's kind of their kind of regimen right now just to get, because I think I saw that it starts back up the second week of July. What do they have to do to get ready for Orlando?
So it depends on what your state is allowing in terms of distancing and everything like that. But for example, we had Sasha Kleshton on the podcast today, and the LA Galaxy was allowed to start contact today. And then you've got teams maybe like the New York Red Bulls and NYCFC, and they were a little slower to be able to return to training than Atlanta United. So teams are all back at training, or they're on their way back to training, and everyone's training at the highest capacity that they can. And the Orlando tournament will allow teams to come in earlier who need to get in more training. So if you can't get it in your home market, you are able to come into Orlando earlier.
Oh, cool. And then besides players and coaches, is it's significantly similar to the bubble the NBA is going to be doing? It's very kind of like really just important personnel only.
Yeah, so I think that the specifics of that will all be sorted by July 8th when the first game is in the MLS's back tournament. However, it sounds like a big number, but it's really not. There's only 2,000 people allowed total.
Yeah.
And that includes coaches, staff, equipment managers, public relations people, communications people, team presidents, team technical directors and staff, cameramen, and everything like that. So there'll be about 2,000 people on this compound gearing up for the tournament. And it's very, very limited. But in talking to a lot of the players like Sasha Kleshton today, he said, you have to look at it like preseason. Very often in preseason, the guys are very far away from their families. It's 5 or 6 weeks. So it's really a similar amount of time. Maybe a big difference is going to be if they're not allowed to go out for big team dinners at a fancy restaurant. But I think everybody knows that they're lucky to be working right now and be making money.
Absolutely.
So I haven't heard a ton of complaints.
Oh no, absolutely not. And then, so how does the tournament work? Because that's one of my main questions.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The way it's going to work is a World Cup style.
Okay.
So there's going to be the group stage. There's 6 groups. They're divided up by conferences. So there's 3 in the Eastern Conference, 3 in the Western Conference, and there's 4 teams. One team has 6 groups because there's not an even number, but you play people in your group, same way like the World Cup goes. And then, whoever wins their group keeps going on through the 1-month tournament. And then it's all knockout rounds after that.
Oh,
It's
cool.
the final, which is on August 11th. So it's really about a 1-month tournament.
That's a couple days for my birthday. I'll be
Oh,
excited.
happy birthday.
For a couple months. Hopefully we see the DC United can get it together and they'll still be playing that week.
Oh yeah, they'll be good.
Absolutely. And then, so is there any plan so far for after the tournament? Or is right now they just kind of focusing on the tournament?
So the idea after the tournament is they would ideally like to start the regular season, I believe, very quickly after that. But Don Garber, and rightfully so, is not committing to when the regular season is going to kick off. But something just to keep in mind is the fact that the tournament will count towards the regular season record. So these are meaningful games. You also get a Champions League berth. You get a trophy. Every team wants a new piece of hardware, especially like in Atlanta United. They want to get their hands on every kind of trophy that there is. So there's a lot at stake. And I know in a perfect world, Don Garber said he'd love to see teams playing in their own stadia after, but I know that that's not a sure thing because we have to see what happens with coronavirus and safety and teams traveling. Yeah. So we will see. I know everyone wants to have as many games as possible after the tournament. And I think that's all going to figure itself out in the next 2 months.
And then, for the teams after they're eliminated, are they still staying in Orlando or are they going home?
So yeah, after you're eliminated, you're done.
Interesting. It's wild. It's interesting. And then another question just slipped my mind. So after have they been focusing a lot on what some of the European leagues have been doing because they kind of got going a couple weeks ago?
So I think that everyone has been talking to each other throughout this whole thing. There was a commissioner-wide call, with the president, with everyone from Vince McMahon to Don Garber to Roger Goodell. So while I know MLS is probably talking to their counterparts in Europe, whether it's the Bundesliga or the Premier League or Serie A, they've also been talking to other commissioners here in the United States.
That's how long ago that call was that Vince McMahon was still the commissioner of a league. Man, I missed the XFL. It feels like months ago now.
I know.
It's incredible. And so I have a question for you. So I know you beat COVID-19. How was that? That must have been kind of wild.
Yeah, to be honest, though, it was during a time where it almost felt like everybody had it, at least regionally where I was where I'm from. I was in New York at the time. And in my group of friends, I'd say most people had it.
Really?
And we all hadn't seen each other. So it's like we all managed to get it independently. And it varied. One of my friends had nothing more than some fatigue. And then the other one was really more like the flu and really in bed for a week. And I was somewhere in between. So I was just really lucky. I didn't seem to pass it on to anyone that I know.
Oh, cool. And has there been any talks about what the quarantining situation would be like if a player does get it?
Yeah, they have all that protocol set up. So if a player would test positive, they would then be quarantined. And I believe then they would have to test so many other people that were around that player. And players are going to be tested multiple times a week. And not just players, but anyone there.
And then how far is the complex from where the NBA is going to be going? I was wondering if they're going to be intertwining at all, if it's going to be kind of separate.
Yeah, I'm not sure in terms of distance, but I've been to the ESPN. It's at ESPN Wide World of Sports, the soccer one. And that's actually where the MLS Skills Challenge was played during All-Star Week in 2019. So we've been there. MLS has been there. It's pretty cool. It's the way all Disney things are. It's huge, big buildings, but a ton of fields, hotels nearby. So it really was a very good option for a neutral location for everybody to be at.
Awesome. And is the all the TV scheduling all out so people can figure out when the games are, what times there are?
That's coming out. So game times and ESPN, Fox, whoever the game's going to be on, that's all being sorted. And I think a lot more in the coming weeks, probably by end of June.